Hello and welcome back to my oft neglected YouTube channel. Today I'm going to do a list of my top 10 solo games. This is mostly games that can be played with more players, but there's a couple that are solo only, which I do enjoy. So this list goes out to all the people out there with no friends. No, specifically, this list is going out to Nikki, who this morning was like, I need more solo games. I was like, you already own more solo games than you think you do, because I know you own some of these because you own 4 times as many games as I do. And more than that. Anyway, last year, as for my yearly challenge, I did play all the games I own that can be played solo, play them solo. So a couple of these were kind of surprises as to how much I liked them. And so, yeah, without further ado, I'm actually starting with an honorable mention just because I was so surprised at how much I enjoyed it solo. So number 11 is Parks. Not going to say too much more about it because it's not officially in the top 10, but it was a really great game to play solo. Yeah, that's Parks. I should mention, too, I'm not going to have any games from Stonemaier Games in here. In fact, I don't think any of these games have... My gosh, the dog is freaking out. I don't think any of these games have solo modes designed by Automa Factory, which is a particular designer who designs solo modes for games. I tend to not really like those for whatever reason. So, yeah, no Stonemaier Games in here. Much as I love Scythe, not a big fan of the solo mode. Same thing with Tapestry. Number 10, solo-only game called Sprawlopolis. This is a button-shy game, and as such, that's the company I should say. As such, it consists of 18 cards in this little wallet. This is a go-to for if I'm going to just be at a coffee shop by myself spending some time. Maybe read, maybe play a game of Sprawlopolis. On the back, it has ways that the cards score, and then on the front, it has different blocks and things, and you have to align them, and you want to make sure that you have less roads. So maybe you want to do this, because then you only have 2 roads here, as opposed to if you did this, you would have 4 roads. Anyway, lots of fun. It's a neat little puzzle, and because you're always playing with 3 scoring objectives, it plays very differently every time. That Sprawlopolis, Agropolis is also good. That's the farming one, and I don't have, what's the other, Naturopolis or something? I don't need more. I honestly didn't need to get Agropolis. Sprawlopolis is fine. That's number 10. Number 9 is another solo-only game, and this is Coffee Roaster, which I need to play more, because I've only really played like the full game once. But in Coffee Roaster, you're trying to brew a nice pot of coffee, and the way you do that is by you have all these different beans and ingredients and things that go in a bag, and then you're pulling them out of the bag one at a time, and there's ways to bust and things like that. So it's kind of like Quacks of Quedlinburg, if you're familiar with that game, which is bag building, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, really fun game. That's Coffee Roaster. Number 8 has been my go-to solo-only game for a long time. This is the first solo-only game I ever owned, and that is Friday by Friedemann Friese, who all of his games start with the letter F. Friday is a deck-building game in which you are playing as Friday from Robinson Crusoe, and you are trying to help Robinson Crusoe survive, which is difficult because he's very dumb. And there are, in fact, cards that say, there's one card in particular that says very dumb. Some cards are like stupid. Some cards are like moronic and things like that, because he's just very bad at doing things. But then you can train him and he learns how to get better until eventually you can defeat like the pirates at the end, which is very fun. Plays very quickly. There's certainly a trick to it, but you can up the difficulty once you kind of get the hang of it. Highly recommend if you want just a good, fast, solo-only game. Takes 15-20 minutes. Yeah, that's Friday. All right, the rest of these games here can be played with more people. So my solo-only games are kind of at the bottom of this list, which is interesting. Don't really know why. Number 7, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, see, I should be doing this with my list up there. Yeah, okay, that makes more sense. Is Merchants of Magic. Merchants of Magic is a game that plays up to 8 people, I do believe. Yeah, 1 through 8. And in this game, you are playing a merchant, think in like D&D or something like that, and you are rolling dice and then writing down the results in different ways to give different products to the adventurers coming to your shop. It plays just about as fun with 1 player as it does with 8, which is interesting. It's a fun way to roll some dice and spend some time. Highly recommend giving it a try solo. That's Merchants of Magic. Number 6. So this is probably, looking at what's left, this is the biggest surprise for me from my challenge last year of like playing all the games I own that could be played solo. Some of them, it's like, oh, this is a chore to get through. Some of them, quite delightful. And this was such a surprise. Dinosaur Island Roar and Write is a very good solo game. As 2 roll and writes in a row, maybe there's something about roll and writes that work really well for 1 player. But yeah, in Dinosaur Island Roar and Write, you're basically playing Jurassic Park, the board game, and you're hiring staff and you're just trying to draft dice in the right way to get the right stuff so you can get a lot of points by having great dinos, but not have them run out of the park and eat everyone. It surprisingly well solo. I need to play this game more often. It's a really great game. That's Dinosaur Island, Roar and Write. Number 5 is a game I actually didn't even own last year. I picked this up used at the local anime convention. Guy was selling a brand new copy for a great price. And this is The Guild of Merchant Explorers. This game is kind of like a roll and write or a flip and write, but instead of writing, you have these little cubes that you put out, and you're establishing towns all over the land and exploring and things like that. Very fun. Love that theme. Themes about like maps. That's great. Cartographers is also good, but not on this list. I actually have yet to play this with more than 1 player. I've just played it a few times by myself. I taught it to a bunch of people at the convention, the anime convention in town. But yeah, it's one of those games that is multiplayer solitaire, which is sometimes a criticism that people lob at games, that they're like, oh, there's not much interaction, it's multiplayer solitaire. Yeah, like you're fighting over these various, first one to get to a certain objective basically scores more points. And they simulate that with just someone like you have to achieve these objectives or else you lose the game. If you achieve them earlier, you get more points. But really, it doesn't play that much different from what I gather. I do need to play it with more people to see. But really, it's just a fun game. Yeah, quite enjoy it. This is one I need to make sure to teach to my housemates and my wife because I think they'll really like it. That is The Guild of Merchant Explorers. All right. Now, number 4 here. This is one of the most complicated games I own. It's certainly the most complicated deck builder I own. This is Imperium Classics. I do not have the Legends version. I would love to get the Horizons version, but I'm not going to back it on Kickstarter because there's so much content within this box. There are how many different unique civilizations in here? I don't even know. It's like 8 maybe? And each of them play very differently. You are trying to get points through different ways. You move from barbarian to empire, unless you're the Vikings and you stay in barbarian. Some civilizations, like the Greece, want to be like civilized in an empire very soon. Others, like the Celts, might want to stick around in barbarianness for a while. But the way that this game has been designed is essentially to make it. Yes, there are shared cards that everyone can get. There's also your own deck, and then other cards that only you can get. But there's a lot of different cards and a lot of variation that goes into them. So it's very much a system that can be tinkered with like quite a bit, like more than most deck builders. So yeah, really interested in someday picking up some of the other sets, either Imperium Legends or Horizons is the new one, which has, I think, 16 new civilizations, which is crazy. And they all play differently. So you can also play a campaign mode, though I've discovered several times with this game now that I missed a rule, and so I need to go back and restart my campaign. I had been doing one, but I'll probably start a new one, maybe with the Vikings. They're very weird. Anyway, that's Imperium Classics. Number 3, this is one of the physically heaviest games I own. That's because there's so many cards packed in here. And this is Legendary. This is Marvel Legendary. I also have the Firefly version that I got recently for Steel. I haven't played that one yet. In Marvel Legendary, you're just playing as a team of Marvel heroes trying to defeat some baddie, and the baddie has some sort of evil scheme they're trying to take on. It's a great game with 2 or 3. Works really well at 1 as well, in particular because you can come up with these cool scenarios, and you're like, oh, maybe I will have like Luke Cage and Daredevil with Black Panther fighting the Kree. Like, why not? Fun, cool. Yeah, is a lot of different. The heroes feel different, and the fact that when you are playing with one as a solo game, you only use 3 heroes, which is kind of cool, because then you see some of their interactions a little bit more. Loses a little bit of points for a lot of randomness, but like if you're fine with that, which I usually am if I'm going to play this, then that's not a problem. That's Marvel Legendary, number 3. Oh. Number 2 is, I think, the only one on this list that plays very differently with more people than it does with 1. Practically a different game, and that's Ark Nova. And normally in the base game, when you're playing with lots of people, with multiple people, I should say, you are trying to just like do the best zoo and get the most points. And you are still trying to do that, but it's kind of more of a race against time, like Terraforming Mars is solo. But I'm not a big fan of Terraforming Mars solo, and for whatever reason I am of this one. I think it's just that you have to make every single decision with so much intention. I mean, if you're going to play Ark Nova well, you would be doing that anyway. But in the base game, you can be like, let me stall a little bit and see what happens, and try and get like a better animal to play or something like that. No, in this game, you have so few actions before you have to have the right amount of points. It's so tight, it's very stressful. This is stressful in a way that Marvel Legendary, last game I talked about, and most of these other games are not, because you just don't feel like you have enough time. I have yet to play on the hard difficulty where you start at like 0 appeal. I don't know if I want to, it's stressful enough. And number 1, honestly by a mile, is A Feast for Odin. A Feast for Odin used to be my number 1 game. It's currently number 2, I do believe. Ooh, this box is heavy. And yeah, this is by far my favorite solo game. How to explain this? You have essentially, you're playing with 1 board, but you have 2 different sets of workers. And so you'll put the workers on in 1 round, and then in the next round, those workers stay on, and you have another team of workers of a different color, which means that you are blocking the spaces. In most worker placement games, like, say, Dune Imperium, which is my favorite game, but not a huge fan of it solo, you have like an AI deck that randomly blocks spaces, so you can't go to those spaces. In this game, you are choosing which spaces to block for yourself next round, and that is just brain burning. It takes a while, and it's a big setup, which is why I don't play it as often, but it's definitely my favorite solo game. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what other games you like to play solo, or let me know what lists you want to see me tackle next. I'm still doing these casually, and so let me know what you want to see. Thanks a lot. Bye.